Throughout my life, kidhood, adulthood, and ever in betweenhood, I've done some nervy, ballsy things that today I often explain as taking life by the reins and creating my own destiny. In other words, I've done some crazy shit and it paid off beyond any conceivable expectations. One of my earliest nutty moves happens when I'm 17. I buy tickets to see master impressionist Rich Little at the Circle Star Theater, a revered venue in San Carlos, just south of San Francisco, the city of my birth, and about 30 minutes north of San Jose, where I still lived with my parents. The Circle Star is famous for having a revolving stage that's conducive to almost nothing. Still, it was a big part of my young life, as witnessed by the infamous Dave Clark 5 autograph session. At that point, I'd been working on impersonations of Marlon Brando, Cary Grant, President Richard Nixon, and Peter Falk's Lieutenant Columbo character, among others, for the previous couple of years. After seeing Rich Little perform on The Tonight Show, I know that when it comes to impersonating celebrity voices, Rich Little is beyond the man. David Fry's Nixon album is truly brilliant, and Frank Gorshin and Godfrey Cambridge have small stable of famous voices they could do well, as did John Byner. But Little has no equal, and he's an enormous influence on my early work. For example, one of my favorite voices to emulate is Johnny Carson, but even though I'm a Tonight Show fanatic, the basis of my impression comes from not Johnny, but Rich. Author's note: Dana Carvey, who came up the comedy ranks in San Francisco at the same time I did, and who does a mean Johnny Carson himself, also used Rich Little's Johnny as his template. So in a sense, at the beginning of our careers, we were both impersonating Rich Little impersonating Johnny Carson. Ask anyone who does solid impersonations, and they will acknowledge someone else as being the one who cracked it first. Even my William Shatner impression, which became the template for countless other Shatners, was inspired by my seeing John Belushi's version on Saturday Night Live. Even though when you Google Christopher Walken impersonation, my name comes up on top, the first guy I saw do Walken was Jay Moore. While I was honing my Walken, I begged Jay for helpful tips, to which he said, "When doing Walken, every one-syllable word becomes a two-syllable word. So no becomes now." I remember hearing Jay mention on the great Sirius radio show Opie and Anthony that his Walken was inspired by a comic named Roger Cabler. Anyway, Rich Little's gig at the Circle Star Theater is my first live comedy show, and I'm excited beyond words. But I use the word comedy here loosely because Rich Little wasn't known as a hilarious comedian. Even at 17, I realized that the man is a brilliant technician, but his routines, not so much. His lack of material inspires me to perfect a few jokes of my own. Humor, or lack thereof aside, Rich is a hero, and weeks before I attend his show, I decide that I need my hero to glimpse my talent somehow. Suddenly, it's absolutely crucial that he learn of my existence. The question becomes, how? How am I going to show the great and powerful Rich Little that I'm talented? Then, as is the case with many of my nerviest, ballsiest moves, the answer comes to me out of the ozone. My favorite celebrity to impersonate is Peter Falk. My mother and I watch his TV series Columbo religiously. Early in Season 1 of its 13-year run, I remember trying to imitate Falk's masterful yet seemingly bumbling detective. During a commercial break, I head to the kitchen to pick up what my mother believes is some kind of treat, but I come back instead with a stubby pencil, a dark pencil, in my hand, pretending it's Columbo's ever-present stub of a smoking cigar. I say to my mom, "Excuse me, ma'am. I don't mean to be a pest. It's just that, well, may I say that the pork chops at supper earlier this evening were absolutely delicious." She howls at my impression, and I never look back. For the next several weeks, I walk around the house as that character until I can think like him, which is why I think it's a great idea to go to the concert dressed as Falk's beloved Lieutenant Columbo.